Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again, and welcome back to AEL. Thank you for joining me. Now in today's video I'm going to be looking at an article that was presented in the Maplin magazine back in 1996, May to be more specific, of a Velleman kit. It's not their design, it's a Velleman design and was released as a kit somewhere around the world, but I don't ever recall seeing this particular kit in either J-Car or Dick Smith at the time. It may have been, I may have just have missed it. And that is the Kojak Siren. Now, for those of you who don't know what Kojak is, it was an old, I think either 70s or 80s television cop show starring Telly Savalas as Kojak, the guy that likes to suck on lollipops. And it basically mimics the police car sirens of that day. And it features a high output, widely variable range of siren sounds, applications, toys, games and models, alarm and warning systems, and amateur dramatics productions. Yeah, so you could use it as a sound effects generator as well. So over on the other page, we're looking at the block diagram of the siren, and we start with the power supply, which is 9 to 14 volts, supply to coupling, that's a filter capacitor, and a switch, which is a push button. So I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. So we first have a modulator, which goes from 0.5 to 5 second sweep duration. That's 0.5 hertz to 5 hertz, I believe they're saying. That then controls an audio frequency oscillator, which ranges a pitch of 500 to 2000 hertz. So 500 hertz to 2K. So basically, this is now going to be a voltage controlled oscillator, which is being controlled by the modulator, which is controlling its rise and fall time, plus its frequency. That then is fed into a power amplifier, which just consists of a simple transistor and then drives the loudspeaker. And there's a look at the schematic for better clarity. D1 and 2, which are these two here, are either 1N914s or 1N4148s. The push button goes in between the power supply positive, and it basically interrupts the oscillator from oscillating when it's connected to the battery, so it's not oscillating all the time. This could be bypassed and just put a link in here. You wouldn't need, if you don't need the push button, and just have a simple on-off switch somewhere else. But this is the modulator circuit, which consists of an op-amp. Now they're using an LM324N. A substitute would be a TL074, but they're using a quad op-amp and only two of the elements, which is just odd. Why not just use a dual op-amp? Yeah. So I can probably substitute this out for a TL072. RV1 sets the positive going modulation, so the speed between the rising edge, and RV2 controls the negative going cycle of the modulation, so the falling edge. So you can have a high rise, slow fall off. Conversely, you can have a slow rise and a fast fall off. Or you can have a fast on, fast off, or slow on, slow off, whatever you want to do. So we get this op-amp to oscillate by using both positive and negative feedback. This circuit here is negative feedback because it goes back into the inverting input of the first op-amp here from its output. But we also have positive feedback going through this 3.3 mega ohm resistor between pins 1 and 3. We're also biasing pin 3 to half the supply voltage with these two 3.3 mega ohm resistors. And in the negative feedback path, we got this capacitor to ground. And so that's what makes this thing oscillate. The output is taken off of pin 2 rather than pin 1. That then feeds into the non-inverting input of the second stage. And to control the pitch of this as an oscillator, we have this resistor controlling the negative feedback or its gain, and this 1.5 nanofarad capacitor to give us our tone. And by varying the feedback, we can increase or decrease the tone respectively. And we've got a bit of positive feedback going on here too. That then goes through a 10 kilo ohm resistor into this BD675. Now, I don't have a BD675, can't get one. However, the BD681 is a substitute because the datasheet from the BD675 also includes the 681. So this is a Darlington transistor in a TO126 package. The emitter is connected to ground, but we can't connect the speaker directly to the output of the op-amp because the op-amp won't like it. So we're modulating this transistor on and off from the output of this op-amp, which is then fed through this limiting resistor 100 ohm 1 watt with a bypass cap of 10 microfarad across it into the negative going side of the speaker. The positive goes to the positive rail. So there will be DC voltage running through this voice coil when the circuit is operating. As to what its current is, I don't know. I'd have to measure what the voltage drop across this resistor is and calculate it. But I don't think it'd be all that extremely high to matter to the loudspeaker. Most loudspeakers can handle up to 2 amps of DC current before they destroy themselves. However, they say if you change this resistor value here, this will provide about 2 watts of power into the speaker. But if you change this to a 5 watt 4 ohm resistor, you can drive easily up to between 3 and 5 watt loudspeakers just fine. So it puts out a little bit more wattage. So this transistor will need to be on a heatsink, obviously, because it's driving quite a fair bit of current to deliver 2 watts into the loudspeaker. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to build this up on breadboard because, well, the kit's no longer available, test it out and see if we can make some interesting noises. But what I'll do first is I'll just build the modulator section up first, and then I'll scope off a pin 2, and we'll just see how these two variable resistors interact with the op amp by looking at it on the scope screen. Alright, let's get busy. Well, I've been out to JCar and I bought the parts necessary that I need. The 1 mega ohm trim pots, a BD681 Darlington output transistor, and some 3.3 mega ohm resistors and a 100 ohm 1 watt resistor, which was a total bitch because the traffic today, I have no idea what the hell was going on. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, but there was cars everywhere anyway. So I've got the first oscillator op amp stage built up. I'm scoping the output at pin 2, which is where it comes off of anyway. This is RV1 and this is RV2, so this one should control the speed of the positive going cycle and this one should control the speed of the negative going cycle. However, I think I've got the pots wired backwards. So minimum is fast and maximum is slow. But whatever. So as we can see, it is indeed oscillating. We've got a slow rise and a slow fall. So if I play with RV1 and turn it fully clockwise, well, we can see it's actually controlling the negative cycle. So it's a long off, for want of a better term, and a short on. So if I wind that back fully counterclockwise, as we can see, it's speeding up, so it's got a slow rise and a quick fall. So I'll put that back in the center and I'll play with the other pot, so minimum on that gives us a quick rise and a slow fall. Fully clockwise gives us a slow fall and a high or higher rise. So if I change the other pot, we can see that it's got a quick fall, slow rise. So it appears to be operating the way it should. And if I increase both pots to minimum, it starts to go like really off the screen. So it's more of a sawtooth than anything else. But it looks like the maximum that this can go on and off at is, now I can't see it, is about 1.4 kilohertz, and its minimum was harder to determine. It's going so slow that the scope can't really measure it. I can't get a frequency reading off of that, but I'm going to say that's roughly half a hertz. Very, very good. So I'll put this pot back in the center, sorry, the other way, and this one roughly back in the center. So now I need to build up the second half of the op amp stage so we can actually start making some noise. So I've got the second circuit built. There's my pitch pot there, and that's the output driving transistor, and I'm ready to test the circuit and see what sort of noises we get out of it. Try the pitch. currently drawing about 40 MA. That's actually pretty cool. Not getting hot. Ooh. Now it sounds a bit more like a police siren. Okay, that was annoyingly loud, but it works. Did you notice that sudden high pitch part and then it dropped back down in pitch and then it stabilised at a different pitch when it was oscillating? Interesting. Could be the charge rate of this 2.2 microfarad capacitor as well. But the circuit works, and it seems to work reasonably well. It's not really all that loud. But what I do want to know is, what is the current actually flowing through the speaker? Alright, my multimeter probes are around the wrong way, but it looks like there's a voltage of 7.2 volt roughly across that resistor. So I'm going to kill that now, because it's annoying. So that's 73 MA roughly going through the speaker of DC current. But that should be alright. I mean, all in all, it's not really going to destroy the speaker, because it's only a minimal amount of DC current. Most speakers, like even the cheaper ones, take quite a considerable amount of current going through, DC current going through the voice coil to destroy it. It can be up to like 2 amps before the speaker even notices it. But it works for what it is. I'm quite happy of how that actually turned out, and it worked first time. As I said in the beginning, I don't ever remember this being a kit in J-Car or even Dick Smith Electronics at the time, because this was published back in May 1996, and I did have access to the Dick Smith catalogues back then, but never saw it as a kit. However, Velleman was a pretty common kit manufacturer that J-Car sell quite a fair few of, just not that one. Anyway, as we can see, we can vary the pitch and the modulation, and we can get various different siren sounds out of it. So this little circuit is versatile enough to even use as a basis for an alarm system as well, with a more decent speaker or connected to the output, like say like one of those horn speakers that you mount on a wall of building, and they're weatherproof, etc. How many decibels it would produce, I don't know. It's not very loud into that speaker, but then again, that speaker is not actually in a cabinet, so it's just operating in open air. But even in open air, it's pretty loud. Anyway, that will do it for this video. I hope someone found it interesting. And I'll put a link in the description to that particular archive.org magazine if anyone wants to read further on the circuit. I'm the Astro 30, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to go down below, like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And as always, this is the Astro 30 saying see ya, thanks for watching, have a great day.